Shalom family, it's your brother Benaiah Ben Israel, coming to you with an epic lesson, Black Germany out of the Caucasus. That's Black Germany out of the Caucasus. Now, if I could just remember how to get down to the meeting hall, we can get started. Oh, wait, what am I thinking, fam? This is virtual. To get there, we can just fly. Here we are. We'll get started from here. Computer, bring up the investigation window.
Radical Hebrew Israelite ideology has already killed people.
2 suspects got out of their van and began firing at the JC Kosher supermarket in Jersey City.
4 shot to death in a Jersey City kosher grocery in 2019.
The suspect slashed his way through a house full of Orthodox Jewish worshippers.
5 people stabbed with a machete during a Hanukkah party 2 weeks later, and the movement is spreading.
He's an Israelite. 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 He's an Israelite.
Now, there's a range of practice even among Black Hebrew Israelites. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a large community of them in Israel who identify as Jewish in a traditional way. And then you have the guys in Times Square who observe in a way that's not so traditional, I would say.
They would say y'all aren't Jews. It would say that, what they say, white people are not the original Jews, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
And look, they're entitled to their beliefs until that justifies shooting Jewish people with pellet guns on Staten Island. Or like, this is December. 3 years ago, December 2019, 2 Black Hebrew Israelites went into a kosher supermarket in Jersey City and killed 3 people because they said they weren't real Jews.
Wow.
Shot them cold dead in a kosher supermarket. So again, you're entitled to believe whatever you want, but I think we need to recognize that rhetoric can have real world consequences.
As I said yesterday, we are committed to providing the public with information that is properly vetted and thoroughly accurate. We will get you that information as quickly as we can, but we think it's more important to be right than to be fast. As the state's chief law enforcement officer, and all of us as prosecutors, as investigators, we simply don't have the luxury to jump to conclusions. There has been considerable reporting that these 2 suspects are linked to the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. We have evidence that both suspects expressed interest in this group, but we have not definitively established any formal links to that organization or to any other group. Based on the available evidence, we believe that the two shooters were acting on their own.
Acting on their own. Then that would mean that the perpetrators were not Hebrew Israelites. Then why would the president of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, openly slander the African Israelite community? Is he a liar?
Well, what do I do? So the Anti-Defamation League, let's just step back. It's the oldest anti-hate organization in the United States. It was founded in 1913 after a Jewish man was lynched. He'd been falsely accused of a crime, wrongly convicted, and ultimately the mob tore him from his jail and they hung him from a tree.
Well, that's not true. You see, when the ADL was founded in 1913, the Ashkenazi Jewish man Leo Frank wasn't lynched yet. In fact, he wasn't lynched until 2 years later on August 17th, 1915. So why would Jonathan Greenblatt lie about the reason the ADL was founded? This is something that every single black person needs to know. You need to know why the ADL was founded and when. You see, it was founded less than 1 month after the racist Ashkenazi Jew Leo Frank and his racist defense team made the following statement about Negroes. As the following reference reads, it reads,
"The thing that arises in this case to fatigue my indignation is that men born of such parents should believe the statement of Conley against the statement of Frank. Who is Conley? Who was Conley as he used to be? And as you have seen him, he was a dirty, filthy, black, drunken, lying Niger. Black knows it. Starnes knows that. Chief Beavers knows it. Who was it that made this dirty Niger come up here looking so slick? Why didn't they let you see him as he was? They shaved him, washed him, and dressed him up. I was raised with Nigers and know something about them. I don't know them as well as the police, perhaps, for they know them like no one else. But I know something about them. There must have been a Niger in the crime who knew about it before Newt or anyone else. I'm afraid Newt knew. Yet, if he did, he was one of the most remarkable Nigers I ever saw, and I wish I had his nerve. There were things you detectives did to him for which you will never be forgiven. You persecuted the old Niger, and all you got was, "For God, I don't know." I don't believe he killed him, but I believe he knows more than he told.
You see, this marked the birth of the ADL. Shortly after Leo Frank was convicted by unanimous decision, August 25th, 1913, the ADL was formed by Leo Frank's B'nai B'rith organization the following month in September. B'nai B'rith President Leo Frank and his racist defense team would go on to appeal the court decision to the Georgia Supreme Court, then on to the U.S. Supreme Court. With both institutions upholding the lower court's decisions, seemingly based on the words of a lowly black man. And the question is, what did the ADL do about it? After Leo Frank was convicted by unanimous decision by jury on August 25th, 1913, for the rape and murder of 13-year-old little Mary Fagan, Leo Frank was sentenced by the court to death by hanging. The ADL was founded the following month by Leo Frank's B'nai B'rith organization, of whom Leo Frank was its president. In October the following month, after the ADL was founded, the B'nai B'rith president's defense team then petitioned the court for a new hearing, blaming the murder on a black man named Jim Conley, stating that he comes from, and I quote, a law-breaking race, end quote, aka the Negro race. Family, this is how the Anti-Defamation League was born, which preceded the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. Peace and blessings, shalom, shalom. How's my audio sound, family? Can you all hear me? Let me see if I can swap this audio out here. All right, shalom, shalom, family. Give me a 1 in the chat if you can hear me, if my audio sounds okay. I think the last time we did the live, I didn't realize my audio was coming through my webcam mic. All right, got ones. Thank you, fam. Well, peace and blessings. Hopefully everyone had a great Shabbat, relaxing Shabbat. It's a blessing to be with you all tonight. I apologize for coming on so late. So it's not my intention to keep you up late, family. But I did want to be a man of my word and just make sure we got part 2 out here tonight. So most high willing, we won't keep you up too late. So, but yeah, thank you for joining in, family. I know I saw some comments in the chat about Mr. Jonathan Greenblatt, and you're probably saying, man, I'm just tired of this guy. Can't we just ignore him and go away? And hopefully they'll go away. Or the thing is, family, is when you look into the history of the ADL, what you'll find out is that they have been against us for a very, very long time. I'm not sure if any of you heard of Project Megiddo, Project Megiddo or Megiddo, however you pronounce it. Well, that was one of those times where the ADL and the SPLC provided the FBI with a list of groups, of hate groups, so to speak. And guess who was on it? Black Hebrew Israelites. And the FBI disseminated this list to all law enforcement in the United States of America. So while you were at home minding your own business, worshiping on Shabbat, being peaceful, because that's the one thing that's perplexing to me is how they try to cast this illusion of violence onto our community when violence is not a doctrine of the Israelites. It's against the law, right? I mean, to murder, to kill, steal, and destroy. But for some reason, they try to morph us into something that's not quite an Israelite, something that's closer to someone that follows oral traditions and not the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments. Because if you follow the law, the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments, you wouldn't be killing, you wouldn't be stealing, and you wouldn't be destroying, which we do not. And that's why I tell people, it's like, that's not a doctrine of the Israelites. That's not a doctrine that any of us teach on Shabbat, at least as far as I know. And all the brews that I ask, they say the same thing. So this illusion of violence that they always try to cast upon our people is to an evil end. They have an evil agenda that they're trying to push. And case in point is the Project Megiddo is what I talked about before, where they actually went to the FBI and gave them a list and said, hey, these Hebrew Israelites, are dangerous, right? Even though we are, like I said, we don't have a history of being, terrorist or anything like that, but they try to cast that light onto our community. So it's one of those things, family, where, you may try to ignore them, but while you're going to Shabbat, they're going to all these other places to try to make our lives not so great here in the States and abroad. So that's why Most High willing, I want to bring this out, make sure everyone's aware of them, just so that for call to actions as far as legal things or petitions and that sort of thing. Just want to make sure that you're aware, and that if the Most High leads you to do so, support the movement. So, but again, peace and blessings. Thank you everyone for joining in. I see there's too many folks in the chat to give a Shabbat to everybody, but Shabbat to everybody. And I guess we can get started. Like I said, I'm not going to keep you too late tonight. So if you were able to join last week, so the question, I threw the question out there, where do you think, the location of Israel is today? And we got, if you remember, we got a couple of different, quite a few different suggestions. Some said South Africa, some said West Africa, East Africa, North Africa. But I think predominantly the answers that we got in the chat were Africa, which is, like I said, there's no such thing as a wrong answer, because again, we're just throwing things out there that we think, the places out there where we think Israel is. So what we did was that when we started the lesson off, we started off by taking a look at Egypt, because for the most part, even though in the chat we had a lot of different places where we thought Israel was, I believe one of the places that we can agree on is Egypt. Right? We can agree that Egypt is Egypt. We see the pyramids, we see the Sphinx, right? And so I don't necessarily see a whole lot of debate about Egypt. So with that in mind, what we did was that we wanted to take a look at the journey of our forefathers from Egypt to the Red Sea, the crossing of the Red Sea, and then from the crossing of the Red Sea to Mount Sinai, and then from Mount Sinai, of course, we can go over to Israel. And just let me throw a question out there, family, because maybe you're wondering, it's like, all right, so why are we talking about Mount Sinai? What's the importance of Mount Sinai? So for those in the chat, family, if you could write in the chat, what do you think the importance of Mount Sinai, or better yet, what happened at Mount Sinai that was important to our forefathers and us today? Because what happened at Mount Sinai also impacts us today. And maybe I already gave the answer, but if you could, please, family, write in the chat, what do you think happened at Mount Sinai? All right, got a holy place. Sharayah. Looking in the chat. Let's see. What happened at Mount Sinai? Well, we know about Moshe. Moshe went up to the top of the mountain and he got some commandments, right? Came down with those tablets. Aki Williams, thank you. Yep, Torah. We got the Torah from Mount Sinai. That's right, family. Commandments. The law was given. Received the 10. There you go. Receive the 10. Yep. There you go. Blood was sprinkled. Oh, that's a big one, Elder. That's a good one. Blood was sprinkled. You came into the bond of the covenant. There's no getting out of that thing. Yep. Brother Byron, there you go. Thank you. All right. So you can see a lot of stuff happened at Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is a very important place for us, because Moshe went up, he got our Torah, he got our commandments, right? And actually, when the tabernacle was built, it was built, in front of that mountain, at the foot of that mountain. So, family, let's dig into this if you don't mind. So I know. So last week, I simply talked about, kind of just gave an overview of, different places. We talked about, specifically, we talked about the Red Sea and some of the, how can I put it? Some of the evidence of where the Red Sea crossing occurred. So today, I'm going to show you several videos, and actually it's kind of like a hodgepodge of videos I stuffed together. So the clip, you'll see multiple videos within one video. It's all crunched up into one. But the main thing I wanted you to see, family, is I wanted you to hear from the people that have been there, from the people that actually saw the evidence themselves. And I want you to hear what they say, and also look at the footage of what they have, because I didn't really talk about all of it. I talked about, just some of it. But in this video, most high willing, we're going to go into a little bit more detail as far as what they found, where they believe the crossing, where our forefathers left Egypt and went over, heading over into Sinai. I want you to see what they found and how it lines up with the scriptures. So let's dig into it, family. So I'm going to bring up, let me split my screen here. And I'm going to start playing this first video, and I'll pause it from time to time. So let's get started, family.
If we were not mistaken, there was something quite startling down there on the floor of the Red Sea. Well, we got ready to check it out. Gilly, a Viv of Israel, myself, Paul Springle of London, the Egyptian Syed, a Bedouin kid or two. I have something interesting to show you here, friends. We have here the Gulf of Aqaba, arm of the Red Sea. It's a great underwater canyon, huge gorge, 5,000 feet or 1,600 meters deep. Do you know that 3 times the Bible, I think it's in the book of Isaiah, it tells us that this was deep sea.
So basically, family, we're talking about the Gulf of Aqaba being the possible location of the crossing of the Red Sea. Now, the thing that he's relaying is that the Gulf of Aqaba is deep. It is deeper than the Grand Canyon. I mean, that's how deep it is, family. So when we look at the crossing of the Gulf of, in the Gulf of Aqaba, what you'll find is that there wasn't just, what he's explaining is that there wasn't just one miracle, which was the waters parting and our forefathers able to, cross over. I mean, and we're talking about a span of roughly 8 to 10 miles is what they crossed over. But that was just one of the miracles that happened that day. The other miracle, which happened earlier, was this shelf that he's showing me right here. He's showing you that there was something that came and filled in this great valley that's deeper than the Grand Canyon. It filled it in at this particular spot, and it filled it in from the left-hand side. And then what he's going to show you is that it also filled it in from the right-hand side. And not only did it fill it from the right-hand side, it filled it in from the right-hand side so that it perfectly matches up with what came from the left-hand side to form a underwater bridge. But let me let him explain it to you.
There have been people who've speculated that the Israelites went across a sea of reeds. It wasn't very deep. There was no real great miracle. That it might have been caused by an earthquake and a tidal wave receding or something like that. However, the Bible says it was absolutely deep. It uses the expression, the great deep, the mighty depths. And here we have a vivid understanding of what the Bible was saying. Here we have a great deep sea. Now, if it was as shallow as a sea of reeds, how could Pharaoh's army possibly drown? You couldn't have two miracles. You couldn't say, well, it was just shallow, so they got across, and still have Pharaoh's army drowning in the shallows. That couldn't happen. But here we have a deep sea. But sometime in the past, out of the same canyon, the Israelites came, and here's the beach, by the way, in the sketch. And possibly this happened late in Noah's flood, when the waters were pouring off the continents back into the ocean beds. And great wall of sand was brought out by the water, out halfway across the sea. Of course, that's not much help to you if you want to cross the sea, having a bridge going halfway. But on the other side, was this a coincidence? Another canyon poured out another great wall of water right across, halfway. Now, suppose these had come out at two different angles, two different directions. Once the Hebrews got out here, they'd come halfway and find nothing but a 5,000-foot drop in front of them. So this wouldn't be much help to them either. But now, friends, here is the miracle, and this astonishes me. Both of these washouts met at the same point and formed a bridge right across, 13 kilometers long, from one side to the other, from the Egyptian side to the Arabian side. And although the water was 5,000 feet deep on both sides, in the centre here it's only 1,000 feet deep, 300 metres deep. And this underwater bridge, we've been diving on it. It's on British Admiralty charts. We've found it to be approximately 900 metres wide, almost a kilometre wide. Now, I'll just take that back for a moment, because I think that there's something I should say more on this. We've been diving along the coast here and here, and we find that the coastline is an angle of about 45 degrees drop under the water, all the way down. But here it's a gentle 6-degree slope. So what if the waters had opened up here? What if the waters had parted here? The Israelites would have found a big drop of 5,000 feet in front of them, or here. But the second miracle is not the first miracle being this great underwater bridge forming. The second miracle was that the water was to part at the very same spot where the bridge was. Now, you could not say that was chance, surely. Here we are getting ready now to go into the water. Well, here we are in the water. The kids are having as much fun as they could.
All right, family. So he's finishing up talking about the bridge. So the video clips going forward are going to show, some of the evidence that's underneath the water. All right. So there were several dive teams that went into the water. He was just one of many researchers that made it out there. And there's also been, a researcher or two that have gone out there with underwater, I guess you can call them, RVs or sub RVs, where, they've gone down to the depths and they were able to catalog, certain things that they were able to see. But let's move it to the next section here.
Actually, we call this our dive boat. See, one end is dived down into the water. Here's Gilly Aviv getting ready to go into the water. Here's Paul Springall from London with the kids all crowding around him, very amazed. They've not seen this going on much. And one of the mothers has come down to watch as we get our gear on. And now we go into the water. We're going in onto the underwater bridge. Well, friends, we're under the water. And Ron, by the way, found his first chariot wheel in 80 feet of water in just a few minutes. He found another one. Then suddenly, as his eyes adjusted to the coral growing on tops of these shapes, he began to find literally chariot wheels strewn across the seabed and parts of chariots. These were not in perfect condition. Chariot cabs were covered with coral. They required careful examination to see exactly what they were. And the coral made it difficult to see them clearly at first.
Now, family, what he's going to explain is that, let's say, for instance, if you have a wooden structure and the wooden structure goes into the sea, now over time that wooden structure is going to dissolve, right? But eventually you're going to hear him describe it, and you're also going to hear another one of the researchers or doctors describe it, and it's basically this: you have coral that's eventually going to grow on the structure and consume the structure, but then the coral is going to be left in the form of the structure. But with the Egyptian wheels, not only did they have were they composed of wood, they were also supported by metal. So there was metal, going around the wheel, and also for the spokes in certain cases. So using that, what you'll find is that they were actually able to use that to confirm that these were indeed wheels, because when they used metal detectors, they found that there was an outline of a circle metal structure within that coral, perfect circle, as well as spokes. But he'll review that in a moment. And let me see here if there's another section. Yeah, we'll let it go to the next section.
Appears the coral was the agent the Lord used to preserve them. And once you come to get used to looking at these and knowing what they are, it becomes easier to recognize more of them.
During the course of his explorations, Moeller observed that the pattern of coral growth at Nueva differed from other parts of the Gulf. Unlike the coral at the northern and southern ends of Aqaba, which often forms large, dense reefs, some covering many acres, the formations at Nueva Beach are generally smaller and scattered randomly across the seafloor. Divers familiar with the area have compared the distribution of coral here to a junkyard and the aftermath of a disaster. This description is fitting, and among the strange formations in these waters, many display features indicative of human engineering.
When we dive and when we film at the Nueva location, we look for certain structures, and you try to look for 90-degree angles or circular objects, wheel-like structures. So that is what you scan for, so to speak, when you dive. There are situations where you see something that looks like an axle, a hub, something that looks like a wheel, and you say to yourself, this is not a coral reef, this is a coral growth on an artifact. And that is what's different to me when I compare corals at other locations around the world.
Since the earliest explorations at Nueva, one distinctive type of formation has often been identified on the seafloor. A slender, table-like structure, sometimes standing on end, with a coral-encrusted base, a straight shaft, and a circular top.
It's a 90-degree angle, a right angle, between something that looks like an axle and the wheel. And you can see this in different varieties, and it looks very different from normal coral growth. And it is like a man-made structure with a coral growth on it.
We've been marking various items to come back to, except after storms this water is very clear. Now here's Ron going in search of a few more of the chariot parts. And in a moment we're going to show you something very interesting. Here is an axle with two wheels on it, one wheel resting on the seabed and the other one in the air, and the coral is protecting them. Here is a six-spoked wheel. Notice how the coral grows over the top of the shapes of it. I'll show you another horse's hoof close up shortly, but there's one lying right on the seabed. Skeletal remains of horses and men.
I don't know if you heard that, family. He said they found skeletal remains of both horses and men. Now, I believe they said that another documentary that they said that the bone, it dissolves in sea, in seawater, but the coral, is what, like I said earlier, the coral preserves it. But just let you know that they've also found skeletal remains of both of men and horses. And I don't necessarily have it in this one, but in one of them, Dr. Leonard Moeller, let's see, Dr. Leonard Mueller, he found like a human femur bone. I think he was able to take that out. And the interesting thing about this site, because maybe you're wondering, like, so why aren't they taking this stuff out and bringing it out and putting this into a museum? Well, there's two laws that prevent that from happening. One is you're not able to take any artifacts out from this area. That's one law. The other law is that you are not to take coral from this area. So they covered all of the artifacts when they said that. Because like I said earlier, things like wood and, things like, human bone, that sort of thing, that, those may dissolve over time, but the coral will remain. Well, then the Egypt said, well, you know what? I don't want you even taking the coral out. So the crafty council is in effect, family. The crafty council is in effect.
Human rib cage. Now, I'll point this out. If you can see the stick pointing to the rib cage, you'll notice also that there's something looking like a hand to the right of it. I shuddered as I held pieces of human hip bones and shoulder blades and parts of skulls. It's very eerie to consider that these have been lying around and there's coral growing amongst them, but there's still some of it still left. When Ron found an 8-spoked wheel.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Good point. So I'm going to bring up the comment by my sister. It's like, Benaiah, you need to fact check. So that's important as well. And what I'll tell you is that the second confirmation, because that's the thing about coral, because anyone can look at coral and say, hey, that looks like a wheel. Hey, that looks like a horse, chariot. And someone might look at that and say, well, no, it's not. But the piece of evidence that these guys bring forward to support their claim is the metal detectors. And I'm not sure if it's in one of these clips that we're going to take a look at. But what they've also done is taken a metal detector, and they tune the metal detector so it tunes out any anomalous metals. And what they've done is that they've gone over these various corals, and they outlined where the metal is, like I said earlier, within this coral. And they were able to outline, like I said, perfect wheels, and among certain things, even like the hubcaps and stuff like that. There's also, I guess, to your point, now coral will grow on almost anything except I think they said gold with and I forgot the material that's kind of mixed in with it. But there are certain things that coral will not grow on, and coral will not grow below a certain depth. So there's two findings, and they're both, I believe they're both in this presentation. One of the finding is there was a gold wheel that was found, and to be more specific, so if you can think of like the Pharaoh, so the Pharaoh, when he's riding on his chariot's going to be decked out. He's going to have gold on it. He's going to have, ornament. It's going to be ornate. And also the priests, I think they said the priests also, their chariots were, ornate. They were decked out. They had gold on it. And I call them hubcaps. So basically on their chariot wheels, they had an overlace of gold. And so guess what? When the seas collapsed on them, and, and the wood and material like that started to dissolve, the one thing that the coral did not cover up, or could not cover up, is a gold wheel. And the gold wheel is what was is one of those things that is documented and confirmed, and that no one can debate. Because why? Because there's no coral on it, right? And the design of the gold wheel, was, I think that's also covered in this video as well. But the design of the gold wheel dates back to like the 1500s to 1400s, basically right around the time of the Exodus. So that's an excellent question, my sister. Excellent suggestion as well. But they've tried to validate their findings. One using the metal detector, and then two using the things that coral could not grow on. Because there's also another video, come to think of it, I don't necessarily have it in this one, but there's also another video where the guy, in this one, they're diving in the shallow waters, but in another video, they're diving in the deeper waters, right? Because it's, remember, it's like a slope. Oh, I lost my, that's the thing about these virtual backgrounds. Hang on, let me see if I can fix this really quick. There we go. But there was one video, and let me see if I can tune this real quick. Yeah, you have to be exact with these virtual backgrounds. All right, let's keep going. But there's one video anyway. What I was trying to say, there's one video where they dive deep, and when they dive deeper, they actually found an intact chariot wheel. And actually, since we're talking about it, let me see, fam. I just want to show you why the chariot wheels are so important. And let's see, is this it here? Gosh, let's get it together. No, let's go to the next one. All right, so it has to do with Exodus chapter 14, verse 25. So Exodus chapter 14, verse 25, and specifically, this is what happened to the chariot wheels. It says the Most High, and he says, and took off their chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahuwah fighteth for them against the Egyptians. So specifically, because this event happened, the Most High actually took off their chariot wheels, and that was going to be a marker or something for us to be able to look for, to be able to find and identify where the Israelites, crossed over. Because wherever they crossed over, we should find a bunch of, to y'all's point, a bunch of coral reefs or coral in circles, perfect circles, because all those chariot wheels came off. But in addition to that, we also have the, like I said, the chariot wheels that were not covered in coral as well. All right. So let me jump back over to, hopefully I didn't lose my spot here. Let's see, read. I think this is.
Took it to Mr. Yusuf Muhammad Hassan, Director of Antiquities in Cairo, and this man quickly identified it as 18th dynasty Egyptian. When Ron said to him, well, how can you know so quickly? He said, well, there was only one time in Egyptian history when the 8-spoked wheel was used, and that was the 18th dynasty. That's the Tutmosis dynasty. And of course we have the name Moses adopted into that same Moses family, the Tutmosis family. And so here we can date the Exodus to around about 1450 BC, which of course is compatible with the biblical dates for the event. There were 8-spoked wheels, 6-spoked wheels, and 4-spoked wheels, most of the wheels being of iron. Now here is a golden one, and coral does not grow readily on gold. And when Ron tried to pick this up, he found it was falling apart because the inside was wood and it was just a gold veneer. So we've left it there and tagged it with a metal, with an olive oil can on a rope, so we can go back to it. Now the golden wheels, of course, were not used by soldiers. The soldiers had iron chariots with.
Yeah, so this is one of those golden wheels I was telling you all about. And this, like I said, this one, helps prove that there were chariot wheels down there. So let's let it play a little bit.
Iron wheels. The golden wheels could only come from chariots belonging either to the king or the priests. There was no royal cartouche on the upper side of this golden wheel. We don't know about the underside, but it's possible that, more likely that this is a wheel from one of the chariots of one of the priests. The Bible says that God took off the chariot wheels, and there you are. We can now see how true was the detail put into it. You can trust his word. It says the chariot wheels came off, and there they are. We've got it documented. The chariots are without their wheels. The wheels are strewn across the seabed, but not even joined onto the chariots. The chariot wheels and the wheels themselves are separate from each other. You can take the Bible literally. Friends, this is a horse's hoof. It was a normal size when we took it out of the water, but it's been shrinking ever since after being in the water so long. And by the way, what we have found on the seabed is astonishing enough. What we've found is things strewn across the seabed out to about 1.5 miles offshore, but we believe that most of the evidence will be found on the Saudi Arabian shore for the reasons we gave earlier. The crossing itself, the scripture says, was deep. That chariots, wheels without the chariots, humans and horses should be found if these things ever existed on the seabed and if they were still there. Friends, we've found and checked out every detail. The scripture is true relating to what we should find on the sea crossing.
After reviewing photographic evidence and making several dives of his own, Moeller concluded that a more systematic investigation of the Nueva seafloor was warranted. He realized
it said the chariot. Let me check it out here. Said the chariots had air conditioning. You all need to stop. But so one thing to keep in mind, family, is that Most High willing, I don't have the links to the videos, but Most High willing, I will add the links to the to the full length video. So again, I encourage you all to to do your due diligence, do your research, and you're just keep an open mind, family. That's the main thing. All right, let's let it play.
That the limited diving time afforded by scuba equipment would never allow an extensive search of the area. A higher level of technology was necessary, and in the spring of 2000, the team lowered a robotic camera into these waters for the first time.
This has never been done. No one have been in the area at all with a remote control camera.
Controlled from the ship, the camera was maneuvered across the seafloor, transmitting video images for study and evaluation.
We have been down to some 80-90 meters, so we can go deeper down that we can't do with ordinary diving, and we can be down as long as we like.
As in his previous searches at Nuweiba, Moeller scrutinized the coral for specific shapes.
We can see that because it's a 90-degree angle. You see the seabed here, there are some structures that are just a little bit above the surface of the seabed. They have a cross-like appearance, it's 90-degree angles, and there's a hole in the middle.
So the hub would be here?
Possibly a hub there, yeah. And the wheel would be a circle around.
This would be the rim of the wheel here?
Yeah.
Okay. So this could be a spoke here, possibly?
Yeah,
possibly a spoke?
Yeah.
What would the diameter of that rim be?
It's a good question, but we would expect it to be about 1 meter, about 3 feet wide.
Okay.
In diameter.
The robotic camera's survey revealed many shapes and objects familiar to Moeller, including coral formations with right angles, arches, discs, and straight shafts fused into larger masses that had the appearance of twisted wreckage.
Now, when we have been able to go back and forth with the remote control camera, we can repeatedly see that these strange structures we are looking for are there. Not at one place, but you see them again and again and again.
Yep. So just want to add on to what my brother up next mentioned here on the screen. So yeah, there's definitely more than one route to Egypt. There are many routes to Egypt. And let me see if I can share my screen here, family. Let me actually pull it up on my browser. And then let me see if I can share it out. Let's see, present. Share screen. Let me see. So hopefully you can see that. All right. So to add on to the brother's point, up next, there's more than one route to Egypt. There definitely is. So there's a series out there that I really would recommend, if you guys get a chance to check this out. Patterns of Evidence Foundation. And one of the products that they have is called the Red Sea Miracle 1 and 2. And, he takes a researcher's approach what they do is that they take a look at all the different routes out of Egypt, to your point. And then they take a look at the pros and cons associated with each of those routes and to see which one makes sense, which one has the evidence to support their claim. And then it leaves it up to the observer to figure out which one makes the most sense. So definitely, Patterns of Evidence Foundation, I really would recommend this. The Red Sea Miracle, like I said, the purpose of that piece of documentary is that they actually take a look at all the different the routes coming out of Egypt, and you can see for yourself which one makes sense. So I know I've taken a look at that, and yeah, it's worth the spend. You can actually rent it for cheap as well. It's like a digital rental. So, all right, just want to put that out there, family. All right, so let's see if we can get back to.
This could be the outer rim of a wheel going around like
The
that.
abundance of these unusual coral structures was even more apparent when tapes of the expedition were carefully scrutinized during the months following the search at Nueva.
Perhaps have a wheel here, standing on the seabed. When you sit and look at these films that has been taken by the remote camera, you see all these strange artifacts or coral growth on some artifacts or structures that appear repeatedly, time after time, at different locations at this spot. And you can sit there and think, well, what is this? This doesn't look like normal coral growth. And it is amazing to see that so many things and such large areas down there that are like a man-made structure.
All right, so just to make sure, just kind of do a quick recap of what they found, so far in the video clips that we saw. So they found, of course, chariot wheels encrusted with coral, and hard to tell. Those could be just plain coral, just so happen to be growing in circles. But they've also found chariot wheels that aren't covered in coral as well. And then they also found human remains. A rib cage, there's a femur bone. They also found horse body parts. I mean, horse remains, horse bone, and also I believe that was like a hoof or something like that they found. So again, that's the evidence that's associated with this site. So let's keep going.
Egyptian chariots were known to use metal hubs in the center of the wheels. Using metal detectors, divers have found metal in the raised hubs that are now covered in coral.
So when you dive with underwater metal detector, you can go over all the corals and you don't get any reading. And then when you go over obviously metal or iron or whatever, you do get a reading. So that's the way you know that if you've got a wheel shape and you get a strong metal reading from it, then that would be the difference between just a round coral and something that could potentially be a chariot wheel. So when you compare this particular four-spoked hub to the hubs that you see in the Egyptian Museum, it looks exactly the same, and there's metal where you'd expect to see it.
Here we see another four-spoked chariot wheel with one spoke missing and a center-raised hub. The coral here has preserved the chariot parts by retaining the man-made structure, even after the wood has disappeared. Here we see another wheel suspended on its axle, standing at attention. It has 6 spokes and a raised center hub. Ron Wyatt made many dives here and located many artifacts.
That thing in the middle is like the hub of the wheel, and then it's almost like a cross of coral. The wood rotted away. The metal would still be there with coral around it. But as you can see, that's just not a natural coral formation. There shouldn't be any coral at all in this area because there's nothing for it to grow on. But if there was a bunch of chariots down there rotting away, coral would definitely be growing on them. So, as you can see, that's clearly a chariot wheel. This is pretty clearly a chariot wheel. On the right side is giving you like an illustration, but you can even without the illustration, you can see. It just gets more and more obvious. Like, what is that coral doing? That's obviously something sticking up, like an axle. That's just not normal. Come on. Like, what do you think that is? There's also a gold one found, and if you don't think that's a chariot wheel, I don't know what to tell you. That's a chariot wheel.
Vivica Pontien and other divers on a second research vessel used metal detectors to evaluate specific structures on the sea floor. Pontien and her colleagues realized that the wheels of many Egyptian chariots were often reinforced with bronze. They hoped to find evidence of the metal encrusted in coral. A scan of this formation indicated a circular metallic pattern around its edge, perhaps evidence of the broken rim of a chariot wheel. Other coral formations examined also contained fragments of metal.
They're quite high, actually, like these.
Vivica Pontien's interest in this research was heightened by a discovery she had made 3 years earlier, 8 miles due east of the Nueva Peninsula. During her stay in Saudi Arabia, Pontien not only searched for Mount Sinai, she also made several dives in an attempt to document evidence of the Egyptian army on the Saudi side of the Gulf.
And the Bible tells that Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore after they came across. So I figured there must be some stuff on the Saudi side. At one spot there is like a very shallow sort of land tongue going out in a straight angle towards Nueva. You could tell it by the shift of the color of the waters. You could see how it was turquoise far out, you know. So I thought this would be interesting for exploration, so we did some dives near to that.
The scattered, irregular coral formations on the Saudi side of Aqaba resemble those previously found off the Nueva Peninsula. In the midst of them, Pontien photographed this circular object attached to what appears to have been a broken axle or hub. This discovery was significant for 2 reasons. Pontien had documented the coral-encrusted form of a wheel with dimensions similar to ancient Egyptian artifacts directly across from the proposed Nueva crossing site. Her find also provided independent confirmation of earlier evidence establishing wheel-like formations on both coasts of the Red Sea, in accordance with descriptions in the biblical record.
And the Lord looked down on the Egyptian army, and he made the wheels of their chariots come off.
A common question is, why didn't you bring up artifacts? And there are several answers to that. The best thing to do when you find something is just to keep it in position. Document it, but keep it in position. It's very easy to destroy anything. And the other thing, it's illegal to remove artifacts, but also you're not allowed to bring up any corals from the Red Sea.
While Egyptian environmental laws prohibit removal of any coral for scientific dating and analysis, photographic evidence may provide a link to the time of the Exodus.
All right, family. Well, so I have 2 videos. That's the first one. The first one's talking about the Red Sea and some of the evidence that supports the Gulf of Aqaba being in the Red Sea. I did see a comment there that it was supposed to be between 2 mountains, I guess, as far as like the pass that they Israel came to get to the Gulf of Aqaba. And yes, there is. Let me see if I can share my screen here, family. Hang on. Let's see. Share screen. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not on Google Earth, so I can't. At least I don't think I can swivel around. But I just want you to see that this is the path. Coming to Nueva Beach is what we're referring to, but it is between 2 mountains. All right, so this one definitely lines up with scripture. All right, family. So that's part of it. So, like I said, just something to keep in mind. And then let's take a look at the other part of this, and this is the part where once our forefathers made it across the waters. Let's take a look at the evidence that supports, some of the findings on that side. So let me see if I can Let's see, I got add to stream. Let's see here.
Came to the oasis.
So the biggest issue is that Moses, when he was taking care of Jethro's flocks, now that was his father-in-law, and when he had fled Egypt, he lived in the land of Midian. And the land of Midian is in north of Saudi Arabia. There is no archaeological evidence for Midian in the Sinai Peninsula. And it was on one of those days when he was out with the flocks that it says he went to the mountain of God in the book of Exodus. And it says he saw a burning bush on Mount Sinai. So then you'll realize that Mount Sinai is close to the home where Jethro lived in the land of Midian.
His theory is that after crossing the Red Sea, the Israelites would have wandered in this very desert. As the team retraced their steps, it was easy to see why water was foremost in their minds. After the Israelites crossed the Red Sea in the end of Exodus chapter 15, it says that they came to the oasis called Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees. Well, those 12 springs are still here. Here's one of them behind me that's been cemented in over the years, but it's still used by the Bedouins in this area to this day.
So I started digging the background of the Mount Sinai. When did you?
All right, I did want to give just a brief background on this gentleman here, whose testimony we're going to hear from. So this is Dr. Kim. He's a Korean. He was asked to come to, he came to Saudi Arabia as a acupuncture doctor. And I believe he ended up staying there for like 20 years. So he's a first-hand, he's going to give a first-hand testimony of what he found or what he saw over in, I guess, well, I'll let him explain, what area he's taking a look at. But over in Saudi Arabia, he's going to give a first-hand testimony of what he found and also the artifacts that he was able to take out. He actually has a museum, I believe it's over in Korea, of the things that they allowed him to take out over to his country. So his testimony, I did cut it short. I think it's like totals like 40 something minutes, but we're only going to take a listen to about, well, we'll see. It's probably like less than like 10 minutes or less of it. So there's a lot of powerful testimony that he has to share.
You first go to Jubilee Laws. I started the 2001 until 2006. It means 6 years. 12 times I traveled there. From Jeddah to the Midian wilderness, it will take times around 1,200 kilometers. You drove? Yeah, I drive myself. Wow. 1,200 kilometers, only one way. It's very far, The local peoples, they call it the Jabal Laws. Jabal Laws, Jabal means Arabic is the mountains, and Laws means the almond. It's something strange. Arabic and Hebrew name is same, Laws. But in Saudi Arabia, actually, it's not growing the almond tree, except these mountains. God ordered to Moses, the Oholiab and Bezalel, 2 persons, giving them the knowledge to make menorah by the gourd. How they made menorah? 3 branch and other side 3 branch. It's like almond flour.
And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold, 3 bowls made like unto almonds, with a knop and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds in the other branch, with a knop and a flower. So in the 6 branches that come out of the candlestick.
Then 12 tribes have problems that times. Moses ordered to every tribe to the staff, put the name of the tribe, and then they put in the ark. Morning times, found out the Aaron, his staff, almond tree and almond flower was there.
And take of every one of them a rod. Write thou every man's name upon his rod. And thou shalt lay them up in the tabernacle of the congregation before the testimony, where I will meet with you. And it shall come to pass that the man's rod whom I shall choose shall blossom. And it came to pass that on the morrow Moses went into the tabernacle of witness, and behold, the rod of Aaron for the house of Levi was budded, and brought forth buds, and bloomed blossoms, and yielded almonds.
How to match this mountain name and this almond? But also, why it's matching the Jabal Laws and the Hebrew and Arab is same word, same meanings. After Lon Wyatt was there, the Saudi government, they know that this place is important. And also they have a special investigation all around the mountains. They found so many stone structures and many ancient rock inscriptions. And the top of the mountain they built the missile and the radar is there. No one allowed in that place.
I understand from their video they said where the black begins, it's very distinct. It's a clear change from normal rock to black, like it's a boundary, a very clear boundary. Did you found that too?
Yeah. I go to on the back side. I come to there. But this one, like stone is melted. But some of them they arguing said, oh, this one volcanic stone. But volcanic stone, if you broke inside, also is black.
Yes.
But this one, only the outside is blackened. So this one is different. When they are in the camp in front of the Mount Sinai, all the Israelite peoples, they want to see God. God said to Moses, you want to see me? 3 days clean your body, wash your clothes, don't go near to the women. And after 3 days, all the Israelite people, almost 2 million people, stand in front of the mountains. When God appeared, top of the mountain is smoking and firing. And that times appear God, say to the peoples, So that's why maybe that times these things will make maybe top of the mountains black. And you have almost 20 to 30% from the top of the mountain is blackened. But it's go down is normal. Yeah, it's not like a volcanic stone. Different. Very big different volcanic stone.
So there's no way you could get there without being seen or spotted. You couldn't sneak there.
Yeah, it's no way, because from entrance they will catch you. But for me, my position was it's not like normal people's. I was working the royal family palace, and also my car was special numbers. Okay. And I have special letter from the royal family. So whatever I go, nobody can touch. Right. But if you come to the front of the mountain of Jabal Luz, there is so many archaeological area. Nobody allowed to take pictures. Nobody allowed to come to there. If you want to reach up to the front of the mountains, maybe 3-4 times there is checkpoint. Okay. Yes. So not easy to come to there. First trips.
All right, fam. So just want to pause just for a moment. Let me see if I can switch over to. Hang on, I'm just trying to get my screen straight. Just trying to switch over to Exodus chapter 19, and let's take a look at Exodus chapter 19, because this has to do with where we are. So it says, Exodus chapter 19, verse 1, and it says, in the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were going forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai, for they were departed from Rephidim and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness. And there Israel camped before the mount. And Moses went up unto Yah, and Yah called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, you have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my commandment, then you shall be a particular treasure unto me above all people. Hallelujah. And all the earth is mine. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Verse 9. And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people and laid before their faces all these words which Yahuwah commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all Yahuwah has spoken, we will do. And Moses returned these words of the people unto Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moshe told the words of the people unto Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, Go unto the people and sanctify them to the day, or today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the 3rd day. For the third day, Yahuwah will come down in the sight of all the people unto Mount Sinai. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourselves, that you go not unto the mountains, or touch the border of it. Whosoever touches the mountain shall be surely put to death. There shall not an hand touch it, but shall surely be stoned, shot through. Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet sounded long, they shall come up to the mountain. And Moshe went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said unto them, he said unto the people, be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives. Excuse me. Verse 16. And it came to pass on the third day in the evening that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mountain, and the voice of the trumpet exceedingly loud, that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moshe brought forth the people out of the camp to meet Yahuwah, and they stood at neither part of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke. This is what they were talking about, fam. Because Yahuwah descended upon it in fire. Let me read that again. It says, because Yahuwah descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof descended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quake greatly. Hallelujah. And this is why I say, fam, it's like, whatever theory you have out there for where Mount Sinai is, one of the requirements or one of the characteristics you should look for is to see if it's a mountain, see if that mountain has evidence of being scorched, right? Or having fire descended upon it. Like, that's one of the things that you want to look for. You also will want to look for the altar of the golden calf, right? You also want to look for the altar at the base of the mountain. You also want to find the 12 pillars. You also want to find the mass grave site, when all the Levites and Moshe went down and dealt with their brothers. So all those things, fam. You also want to find the cave of Elijah, right? Those are things that like I said, whatever mountain you're looking for or you believe to be Mount Sinai, those are the things that you'll want to find. Like, those are the things that you'll want to check off on your checkbox. All right. But all right, just wanted to read that, family, just so that we have an idea of what happened that day, right? What happened to cause that mountain to burn. Hallelujah. All right. Well, let's keep reading. Actually, let me switch it back over to...
No, I have to prepare a lot of things, because from my place to that Median wilderness, it's going to 1,200 kilometers. So I don't know if you go to the desert, what happens. So I have to prepare some map, and sometimes we need a rope. Also the nighttime, maybe you need some light, and these things, that things, you have to prepare many things, And also, if you go to the desert, there is no signboard at all. You have to go yourself, So I prepared many things, and my boss, Prince, he was the vacation on the outside, so I have chance to go. But that times I have one patient. He is a Saudi sheikh. He's a big man, so I have to stop the treatment. I talked to the sheikh. I have to go my vacations. So when I come back, I will start treatment again. And then he said, "Where you go?" I said, "Median wilderness." "Oh, come on, don't go there. It's very dangerous there. The Bedouins, they are not following the government rule. Very dangerous. Don't go there." I said, "I must go." And then he said, "Oh, you must go. If you want to go, you ask to your boss to bring the gun." I said, "Oh no, how come I'm carrying the gun?" He said, "No, you should be." I said to him, my boss, he's outside now on vacations. And then he said, "I will give you my gun." And he just bring his gun and give to me, But I can't carry the gun, It's dangerous, So no need. And then after that, I come to the house. We prepare to go tomorrow, Then the night time, always we are pray to God in the family pray times. When I pray time finish, then suddenly I heard his voice. "You bring the gun." Then I'm not talk to my family, because if I say something, this is they'll be afraid, And night times before I sleep, I pray to God. And again, also I remember to bring the guns. And the other day, morning time, everything I put all the baggage put in the car. Daytimes, 8 years boy and 10 years girl and another 12 years girl, my wife and me. We are the 5 people only. And then before I departure, I pray God again. And suddenly remind me again to bring the gun. And if I explain to family, they are afraid, I go to the house and then I'm looking for the child, the toy box. When I dig out, there is so many things is coming out. But I found out this toy gun. It's around $2 I bought on the street, It looks like a gun, Then this one I put inside here, but no one knows I'm bring the toy gun, But that times I drive myself because I know maybe way to, because already we know the directions, So I'm following my way. And I will tell you, Saudi, the sky, there is no cloud because no rain, But I found a big black cloud is touched the top of the mountains. Okay. So I thought maybe if I go that place will be Jabal Luz. We are the far away, but we know the direction because it's like a signal, So I'm following, but the crowd is always moving, depends on the windy, But this one is not move. He touched the top of the mountain and slowly it's coming down. It's like the cloud pillar, And then I follow. At the last moment when I arrived, that mountain was Jabal Luz.
Wow. So that's how you found it, like God put a cloud there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I stopped there. When I come out, suddenly on my back sunshine, but this black cloud completely covered all around the mountains. Wow. From inside start lighting, tendering, like God appeared 3,500 years before.
Wow.
I was afraid, really.
This is your first trip there?
Yeah, first trips.
Wow.
And suddenly I fall down. I start to pray to God. The rain drop on my body. And the tender, the sound inside the mountain is huge. You feel like earthquake also shaking the ground. I was afraid that some stone is falling down from the mountain. And tendering and writing. After that, I was afraid, pray to the God, please, we are the sin, the more than 50 years old, what I did before. So I started to think about everything is pull it out to God. And then all my family afraid to inside the car. And the Bedouin also, they afraid in the car. I pray and pray. And suddenly I feel something, very quiet. When I look, and the whole cloud is gone, suddenly, and sunshine again. And Bedouin, he come to me, hey. I say, why? Maybe the writing, you ever happen something like this? And then I asked him, did you see something like this happen? He said, he's almost 80 years old. He said, I never seen all my life.
Wow.
And this time is not the raining season.
Yes.
Why something happened like this? I say, I don't know. After that, we come out another days. I come to the another side of the mountains. I escaped from the checkpoint. Several times I met, but I will go, and then when they go, and then I come back again like this, The last moment I reached to the front of the mountain, I found out, like in videotapes, the Ron Wyatt, they put the fence all around. The golden calf altar was there. I found out also the Egyptian god inscriptions, Hathor and Apis. There is the day drawing there. And when I come inside, also Exodus chapter 24:4, Moses early morning, he wake up, and then he go with young people, he build up the altar, and then he has burnt in front of the mountain. All the area, what is written in the Bible, exactly that point was that. And the 12 stone pillar was also there. 12 times tribe, the exploring there, the last exploring times, we go to there, and we found out so many rock inscription was there, all around that place. Also we found out a lot of millstone.
Okay.
And then we found out. But the menorah, what I know, the oldest menorah was AD 70. Roman Titus, he took to the Rome, you know. After that, they don't found the oldest menorah up to today. But what I found, this menorah inscriptions is very old. Why? Around this menorah inscriptions, there is so many old letter was there. This old letter is very similar in Hebrew letters, and call it maybe Talmudic. Talmudic, it means BC 13 to BC 15. It's almost Exodus times.
Wow.
This letter with menorah together here. So let me tell you, that place is Arabia.
All right, family. Just going to pause it for a moment because he said quite a bit. So he gave his personal testimony, and I was kind of watching, some of the comments in the chat. So just want to encourage folks to not get too caught up in looks, as far as him being Asian or whatnot. One of the things, if you all have seen, the outstanding movie Reclaiming the Thrones, or even Hebrews and Negroes, what you'll find out is that in those movies and those documentaries, they show you that our people went everywhere. I mean, we were scattered everywhere, family. And we really haven't, I know, especially on my channel, and maybe not so much in the Reclaiming the Thrones, at least not yet. But on my channel, we really hadn't talked about where else did our people go. I talked about, our people going to, Spain and Portugal and into Africa, and then of course over into the Americas. But there are other pathways that our people went to, that were scattered to, that we did not cover. And Asia is one of them. And boy, did our people go over to Asia. I think Maury Yahusha has a picture of Portuguese Israelites going over to Japan, and there's actually like a painting from the, I want to say the Middle Ages, whatnot, that shows, Black Portuguese going over to Asia and places like Japan. So like I said, Brother Dante Williams said, everywhere. We were scattered everywhere. And over time, if they decided to mix with the local population, guess what they're going to look like? They're going to look like the local population. So, I mean, even for me, family, I have to kind of look at some of these folks and say, well, you know what? Who knows who he is? At the end of the day, who knows who his father is? And I even say the same thing about when we talk about Esau, because there's a whole discussion about Esau, being the white man. But one of the things I'm most high willing that we're going to get into in some of these videos that are coming up is just to show you that literally light skin is a gene. I mean, they actually know what gene it is. Back in the day, they used to call this gene SLC 24A5, and then it was SLC 45. But then more recently is BNC2. So they actually identify the gene that causes light skin. And guess what? Anybody can get this gene of light skin. Like, and you see it today, family. If a white European and a Black African American get together, guess what's going to happen? That child's going to be light skinned. And then of course, if there's additional mixing further on down the road, that child's going to get even lighter. So it's the gene, family, that light skin gene that anybody can get. And so it's not necessarily tied to a nation. Although there is one or two nations that ended up, how can I put it, indoctrinating that light skin into their genome more so than others. So just want to throw that out there. And then, like I said, one of the things he talked about, so he talked about, him getting to the mountain and the, supernatural experience that he experienced when he first came to the mountain. And also, he briefly mentioned it, and I do think there's some videos that come after this that speak to it, but he mentioned that he found a menorah. There were some Hebrew letters around the menorah. Some people would say, I think he was saying that it's like Proto-Hebrew, that sort of thing. I think various people have a slightly different take on it, but basically it's in line with a Semitic language. But that they do find inscriptions here, and actually, if you pay close attention to some of these video clips coming up, you're actually going to see a pretty good shot of at least one or two of those inscriptions that were, chiseled into stone. So again, like I said, it's not just the golden calf altar that they found. It's not just the altar at the base of the mountain. It's not just the 12 pillars that they found. It's not just the mass grave site that they found. It's not just, they also have the split, a great split rock right around the corner with an altar at the base of the great split rock. But they also found inscriptions, Hebrew inscriptions, scattered all over the place. So again, like I said, if you're taking and that's why I say, like I said, if you're taking an objective view on this thing, you're going to be hard pressed to dismiss a lot of this stuff. And if you choose, and again, family, if just like my brother said, if you all choose to if anyone chooses to dismiss this and hang on to their beliefs, that's totally fine. We aren't making this our Alamo. We aren't like someone wrote in there, making this a salvation issue. But the one thing I will throw out there is that if this is the true Mount Sinai, this is personal for you. This is personal for you, family, especially if you're Israel. This is personal because this is the place where you came under the bond of the covenant. So this is that place. This is the place where the blood was sprinkled on you, where our forefathers said, all that you say we will do. Like, if this is that place, this is special for you, right? So I'm sure if, I'll just leave it at that. If you want to make it, and I'll just leave it at that, fam. I won't give too much more commentary on that. But let's keep playing it because he's going to mention Dr. Kim is going to finish up his segment, and then I have another segment coming on the back side of his. So let's take a look, fam.
That place, why there is the Jewish mark on it there, and that place, why all the Hebrew letter is there. Yes. Okay. This one what I'm saying. So still we are studying about this menorah inscription with all the letters.
The sandals, like you got the flat rock with the sandal on it.
Yes.
There's a verse in the Bible, the Cordwells mentioned this. Mm-hmm. It says,
Jehoshua.
Okay, is it
Jehoshua, whatever you go.
Wherever the sole of your feet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's connected to that, or do you think it's...
Well, I found out so many the footprint.
So there's not just...
Many footprint.
Okay.
But only that place near the Jabalos is in the Levitim area. Okay. What I think in the Levitim area was the thorn bush was there. Okay. Why? God said, appeared to the thorn bush, Moses, if you go to Pharaoh, you have to tell him, I want to go 3 days journey to go out. You have to tell to the Pharaoh.
Yes.
Okay. And before he mentioned, he said, you moved your center because this is a holy place. So I found out also so many the northern part area, the footprint, but all the footprint, there is only the left and right only. But which one I found the footprint in near the Levitim area, there is the sandal, not only foot. Sandal means the, what you call it, the hold here, then yes. This one is open. So another place, what I found the footprint, there was no the holder. So it means that place, surely what I feel it, Moses, he take off shoes because this is a holy place. So that's...
Oops, talking on mute, fam. All right, so just kind of break down what he said. The interviewer had one question, but Dr. Kim actually took it into another direction. Actually, so the interviewer asked him about the soles of the feet, because actually in that area, what you'll find is that not only was there like menorah in writing that's written, on stone, but there's also this interesting, I guess you can call it like a hieroglyph or etching or drawing of sandals and feet, right? Sandals and feet, like all over the place. Because they'll just be walking and they'll look down and there'll be a stone with an outline of a sandal or outline of a foot on it. And one of the theories that they threw out there, the reason why that's there is, let me see if I can bring up this scripture, and it has to do with this Deuteronomy 11 verse 24, where the Most High says, like, everywhere whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours, from the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the uttermost sea shall your coast be. Right. And it's not covered in this documentary or any of these video clips that I have, but there was an additional study that was undertaken where they went around that whole landmass of Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Qatar, and what they found was that all over these places they found this curious marker, which was the outline of a foot on stones. Outline of a foot on stones in Qatar, outline of a foot in Yemen, outline of a foot all over Saudi Arabia, right? And I guess, like I said, some of these pastors were hypothesizing. They were like, well, that could be Israel just going all over the place, with the faith in the Most High according to His promise, and just marking their territory. And you have to, if so, if that's the case, and like I said, if this is the place where Mount Sinai is, if that's the case, then all of that territory is Israel. Like, because one of the things I heard is that, well, Israel is a small place. Well, not exactly. If you're going to go along with the archaeology, which is those foot markings, it's going to include all of Yemen, all of Qatar, and all of Saudi Arabia. And just think about it, family. Like, that territory is like some of the richest territory in what? Oil. The richest territory in oil. And just think, family, like I said, according to the Most High's promises, that could be yours based off of the evidence of foot markings etched in stone in those areas. So just something to think about, fam. But let's go back to finish up his
why they make that left and right centers.
Was it near the split rock?
Yeah, near the split rock. Okay. Around, I can tell you, maybe 1 kilometer away from there.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. But 1 kilometer is not far, All around this place, I found the footprint. Wow. But already some of them, the Saudi army,
Oh, sorry, family. I forgot to mention the other point that he was bringing out. So what he's saying like all over this place, you find footprints. You find footprints etched in stone, like I was telling you about. You find it down in Yemen, you'll find it in Qatar, like all around that landmass. But he was saying specifically in this place, there's a spot where you don't find regular footprints. You find an etching of a sandal with the straps loose. Right, you find an etching of a sandal with the strap undone, as if to say, take off your sandals. This is holy ground. And that's why. And one of the things he said is that I believe that the burning bush is here because of that diagram that he found, where you have the sandal with the straps undone. He's like, this is the only place where he saw that particular diagram. All right, let's keep going.
They come there, they are removing some inscriptions.
Really?
One Bedouin showed me, I have the rock inscription. This one is a step on the rock. From here, snake head.
Yes.
Snake head on it here. But they are removing by the hammer, the snake head, they remove it. Only the step is there. But the Bedouins say this one was the snake head on it here.
To this day, there are many palm trees and exactly 12 wells here. This would have provided water and met all the needs of the Israelites. Here you can see this area with the palm trees and some of the wells. The Saudi locals in the area point out that this is Elam and has been known by this name as long as they can remember. We then find in Numbers 33:10 that the Israelites then journeyed from Elim and camped by the Red Sea. Now we have strong and convincing evidence of where Elim is, so taking into consideration the geography of the land, the most obvious place would have been south of Elim, a bit at the modern-day location of Magna Oasis by the Red Sea. And you can see that this is a large area with plenty of water that would fit the biblical requirements for this place. There is also a well here called by the Saudis as the Well of Moses. From the Israelites' encampment by the Red Sea that we believe is modern-day Magna Oasis, Numbers 33:11-14 tells us that they traveled to the wilderness of Sin from this place. Now the name Wilderness of Sin does not refer to something sinful, but is just a name. And it says, "And they journeyed from the Red Sea and camped in the wilderness of Sin." Now it appears that they backtracked to Elim and then from there went to the wilderness of Sin. Exodus 16:1 provides the details. It says, "Then they set out from Elim." So they went to Elim from Magna Oasis, and then they head to the wilderness of Sin. And it says, "And all the congregation of the sons of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departure from the land of Egypt. But the whole congregation of the sons of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The sons of Israel said to them, 'If only we had died by the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, when we ate bread until we were full. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this entire assembly with hunger.'" Now at the encampment at the wilderness of Sin, several major events would take place. Because the Israelites grumbled against God, He supernaturally gave the Israelites manna, of which they would eat until the day they entered the Promised Land, some 40+ years later. He also provided quail, of which they became sick on, and then He instituted the Sabbath day. After this, it says in Exodus 17, "Then all the congregation of the sons of Israel journeyed by stages from the wilderness of Sin, according to the command of the Lord, and camped at Rephidim. And there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people quarreled with Moses and said, 'Give us water that we may drink.' And here is where Moses struck the rock, and water gushed out and came out from this rock." Now this rock that Moses struck and God split in two is believed to have been found and is a perfect match with the biblical account. It is massive in size and sits upon a small hill. It's also located in a large valley where the Israelites could have camped and can be seen from a long distance away. It shows water grooves in it where massive amounts of water ran down from it. And you can see this rock and the water channels and grooves that were made when the water gushed out from it. Now God confirms this in Isaiah 28:21. It says, "They did not thirst when He led them through the deserts. He made the water flow out of the rock for them. He split the rock and the water gushed out." And this is exactly what we see here at this large, massive rock at Rephidim. And then it says in Psalm 78, it says, "He split the rocks in the wilderness and gave them abundant drink like the ocean depths. He brought forth streams also from the rock and caused waters to run down like rivers." Now this rock from which the water flowed here at Rephidim is also referred to as the rock of Horeb because it is close by to Mount Sinai, also known as Mount Horeb. Also, while at Rephidim, the Amalekites came and fought against the Israelites. Exodus 17:8 says that, "Then Amalek came and fought against Israel at Rephidim." The Amalekites were descendants of Esau and were a people who lived south of the Dead Sea region. God supernaturally gave the Israelites victory as Moses held up his arms. When his arms got tired from being outstretched, then Aaron and Hur helped him hold up his arms. And by doing so, the Israelites were victorious over the Amalekites. Also, right by this massive rock at Rephidim, you can see what appears to be an altar that Moses erected after defeating the Amalekites and named it Jehovah Nissi, or more properly said as Yahweh Nissi, which means in Hebrew, the Lord is our banner. This altar is located right beside the rock Moses struck where the water gushed out for the Israelites to drink. Now, there are also some other amazing discoveries in this area that are fascinating to see and give more evidence that this area was traversed by the Israelites. Ryan Morrow, who recently visited this area and produced an excellent documentary called Finding the Mountain of Moses, the real Mount Sinai in Saudi Arabia, says some of the following information. He says the name of Rephidim means place of rest. Hebrew inscriptions that have been found in this area have been interpreted to say place of rest, the definition of Rephidim. Closer to the mountain, inscriptions have been found that Dr. Miles Jones, a scholar of ancient Hebrew, believes are talking about the battle with the Amalekites. He says one of the inscriptions refers to the death of an Amalekite. Nearby, there are two inscriptions that Dr. Jones believes are marking where a Hebrew mother and daughter died. The Bible says that God told the Israelites that they would possess the land wherever the soles of their feet would touch. Near the split rock and near the mountain, there are many inscriptions with an image of a foot and a sandal. Next to the image, there is a Proto-Hebrew writing that means the sole of the foot. There have also been found inscriptions that were translated and found to refer to Yahweh, the Hebrew name for God. Now, we did a video about Gilgal that talks about the appearance of campsites in Israel that are shaped like a foot. There are a total of 7 of these campsites that have been found in Israel. One of the clearest is at Gilgal, of which you can see in this video. Now, all this evidence at Rephidim is quite convincing. After their time in Rephidim, it says in Exodus 19, in the 3rd month after the sons of Israel had gone out of the land of Egypt, on that very day they came into the wilderness of Sinai. When they set out from Rephidim, they came to the wilderness of Sinai and camped in the wilderness, and there Israel camped in front of the mountain.
Christian and Islamic sources indicate that there is a tradition that is 600 years older, and according to that tradition, Mount Sinai is in northwest Saudi Arabia. This other tradition points to Jabal Makla, a peak on the mountain range known as Jebel al-Lawz, as the true Mountain of Moses. Several historical sources, including Josephus, recorded that Mount Sinai is the highest mountain near a city that is today called Al-Bad. Locals refer to Jabal Makla as Jebel Musa, the Mountain of Moses.
So you call this one Jabal Musa?
Jabal Musa.
One of the distinguishing features of this mountain is the blackened top that you can see right behind me. The Bible says that God descended upon Mount Sinai as a fire. The blackened peaks stick out from the surrounding areas, and the rocks are only black from the outside. Researchers disagree as to whether the blackened rocks are actual evidence of God descending upon the mountain as a fire like the Bible says, or whether it's natural volcanic rock.
Well, we've made it not to the summit yet. We're at about 6,400 feet in elevation. As you look behind me, you can see the big plain that the Israelites camped in front of the mountain. And just right down where we're standing, you can see the plateau where definitely 70 plus people could have sat and ate with God. Remember, Moses went up there with the elders of Israel. And right in front of me is the blackened peak. We're going to summit that today.
Yeah, it's not like a volcanic stone. Different, very big different volcanic stone.
Okay, we are at the
line where the stone changes color between the black stone and the white, pink, whatever you want to call it, granite. And here's a blackened boulder. And we're just looking at it, and if you pull off this piece, inside's a different color. That's kind of pinkish, but the outside's black.
Now the amount of evidence around Mount Sinai here, which today is called Jabal Machlah, reveals this place is indeed the true Mount Sinai. It is all quite convincing, so let's now look at all of the evidence here at this Mount Sinai, which is known again as Jabal Machlah. First of all, the Bible states that the Israelites camped at the base of Mount Sinai for around a year. Interestingly, at the base of this mountain here is a large flat area where the Israelites could have camped. It is huge in size and had streams of water and pasture land for their livestock to graze. Also, the climate was perfect as it is higher in elevation, so it's not hot in the summer and it's comfortable in the winter. Next, Exodus 19:18 states that Mount Sinai was all in smoke because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked violently. The top of these mountains are dark, showing signs of burnt marks. The outer parts of the rocks are black, but on the inside they are brownish in color. And you can see here, there's been some rocks that have been chipped away, and you can see that on the outside they're black, and on the inside they are brown. This seems to be more evidence that this mountain and the surrounding mountains close by were covered with fire and smoke. Now from Mount Sinai, God gave the 10 Commandments to the nation of Israel and supernaturally wrote them on tablets of stone with His own finger. This was an earth-shattering event. Scripture says the mountain was on fire for 6 days and appeared as if it was going to be consumed. And the Israelites who saw this were terrified as they beheld everything that took place. The Bible also speaks about how Moses and 70 elders of Israel went up the mountain to worship God. The elders were to stay at a distance from Moses and could only go part way up. Interestingly, there is a natural plateau part way up the mountain where this event could have happened. Another piece of strong evidence is that at the base of this mountain, an altar has been discovered. This would match what Scripture states in Exodus 24:4 and 5. And Moses wrote down all the words of the Lord. Then he got up early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain with 12 memorial stones for the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the tribes of Israel, and they offered burnt offerings and sacrificed bulls as peace offerings to the Lord. Now at the very base of this mountain are extensive remains of an altar and a complete system for animal sacrifice. There are corrals where the animals would have been kept and an altar at the front of it. There have also been discovered animal bones here underground. Scripture also refers to 12 memorial stones or pillars for the 12 tribes of Israel. Interestingly, there are stones by this altar that perfectly match the biblical record. The Saudi locals say that in the past, these stones were much more evident and could be seen much more clearer, and that the platform was more intact as well. Also, Ron Wyatt documents having found one of the pillars that had Hebrew writings on it. It's quite fascinating that everything here matches perfectly the biblical account of this event. Near the altar of Moses and the 12 pillars, Moses read to the Israelites the Book of the Covenant, and they agreed to it. This means that Moses probably had a spot right above the altar that served as a stage to address the Israelites. Now, just above the altar of Moses is a large platform from where Moses could have easily spoken to the Israelites when the covenant was made. It provides a natural place from which to speak, and the Saudi locals talk about how sound travels here like a natural amphitheater. Another fascinating discovery at the base of this mountain is the altar upon which Aaron set the golden calf, and all Israel worshipped before it. On the top of these rocks is the main rock that shows a flat spot where the golden calf might have been placed for all Israel to see. Below the rocks is where Aaron would have made an altar to this golden calf. Now, Exodus 32 provides all the details. Now, interestingly, this golden calf was a representation of the Egyptian false god Hathor. It was one of Egypt's main gods. You can see images of this false god that look very similar to the paintings on these rocks here. There are also many other inscriptions on these rocks as well. Now, worship of this false god Hathor consisted of dancing, drums, and sexual promiscuity, and this is exactly what the Israelites were doing while Moses was away. This altar, interestingly, is fenced and gated like other archaeological sites at the base of this mountain by the Saudi government. Additionally,
Yeah, just one quick comment, family, and we're almost going to wrap it up, family. But just one quick comment. So the Saudis had put up that fence around, the altars and stuff like that in the area. Well, one of the things that happened was that there was a storm that came and knocked the fence down. so it's still knocked down today. I don't know if it's the one that's around the golden calf, but a storm came and knocked out one of those other fences, and that's why you see in a couple of this video clips earlier where you see they were actually on top of the mountain. It's because that fence was knocked down. They were able to go up to the top of the mountain. So yeah, it's very interesting. But all right, family, let's finish up. We're almost finished with this. Like I said, chew the meat, spit out the bone. Like I said, the main thing here, family, is just to get you familiar with some of the evidence that's out there. I did see a comment out there about don't let your enemies teach you. I totally agree with that. So go ahead and do your own research. But I will also say, just to keep us keep us honest. Just because it's brown don't mean it's right, as far as our teachers as well. Because one of the things that, Most High willing that we will, get into is, the placement of where some of our enemies are, especially I think the doctrine of, Esau is just the white man. I think that's going to cause people to get tripped up because Esau is black as well. And we have a large contingent of Esau in Africa, a very large contingent of Esau in Africa. And if you're hooked on this color thing, you're going to cozy up to Esau and be in big trouble. So just to throw that out there, family, that just the enemies of Israel are of all makes and sizes, right? Of all nationalities and different colors and stuff like that. So yeah, Esau is mainly black. So just so that fam, Esau is mainly black, and he's in Africa. So just to let you know. All right, well, let's go ahead and finish this up, family. Like I said, it's getting late. It's past my bedtime, but yeah, let's finish this up, and then we'll just have a few comments, and then we'll close it out. So hang on, fam.
Additionally, many artifacts and discoveries have been found in this area that give great evidence that this mountain is indeed the true Mount Sinai. Now, after the golden calf incident, when Moses returns back to the base of the mountain, it says in Exodus 32:20, what Moses did with this golden calf. It says, "Then he took the calf which they had made and completely burned it with fire and ground it to powder, and scattered it over the surface of the water, and made the sons of Israel drink it." At the base of this mountain there is a stream which forms a small lake. So this place provides the water that would have been necessary for this event to have happened here. There are also around this small lake a number of wells that have been discovered as well. So this area was a main water source. A stream came down from the mountain here, and it was a main water source. There was another stream as well just to the north. So there was plenty of water in this area for these events to take place and for the nation of Israel to have used during their time at the base of Mount Sinai. Also, after the golden calf ordeal, God ordered the Levites to kill those who had been involved in the worship of the golden calf. In Exodus 32:28, we see that 3,000 died as a result. Now, with this being the case, there should be a mass graveyard site close by to this area. Interestingly, we find a site about 4 to 5 miles north that fits exactly this biblical event. There are thousands of standing stones that appear to have been used as grave markers in this flat plain. This area is also fenced off by the Saudi government and declared as an archaeological site. Also, close by to this mountain, there has been found a menorah painting which gives evidence that the Israelites were in this area. Unfortunately, this painting has been chiseled away in recent years, but older photos and documentation clearly prove its existence, and even what has been chiseled away shows the outline of a menorah. We also know that God gave to Moses, while they were at the base of Mount Sinai for about a year here, the design of the tabernacle, and that it was erected at the base of the mountain. Now, we don't have any evidence of this tabernacle as being here, as it was mobile in nature. However, by taking into consideration the location of the mountain and the lay of the land, there is a place here that would be the natural location for it to be. It is flat, close by to the altar of Moses, and at the base of the mountain. Now, the Bible mentions how the prophet Elijah traveled to Mount Sinai and stayed in a cave there after his powerful confrontation with the 850 false prophets of Baal and
Yeah, just pausing it for a moment. Ema Cassandra, yeah, let me know who that person is. I'll see if I can find them and block it. I did find somebody and block them, and yeah, I'll make sure that yeah, whoever that is that's threatening in the comments is blocked. So yeah, family, yeah, just keep it. Let's see, watch. Yeah, so let's do this. All right, family. Yeah, just want to keep the comments clean. Looks like we do have some trolls in the comments, so forgive me if I don't get a chance to clean the comments while I'm doing some administrative stuff. But definitely, if you all see anything in there and you have the ability to block, yeah, feel free to block away. All right, family. I think that is pretty much it. Let me see what else we have. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I apologize for I mean, some of those clips were redundant, but the reason why I put it in there was some of those clips had a little bit more information. They started off with the same narrative, but then they would add additional discoveries to what was said previously. So, all right, family. Well, like I said, let's do a brief recap. So we wanted to, whenever you're asking the question, where is Israel? There are different views, different opinions out there, which is fine. And what we're saying is that the best thing to do is to start with Africa. I mean, start with Egypt, because for the most part, everyone can agree, for the most part, where Egypt is, right? I don't think there's any ambiguity, any question as to where Egypt is. And then from Egypt, then trace your way over to the Red Sea crossing and over to Mount Sinai. And I think, like I said, somebody made a point earlier, was that there are different routes out of Egypt. Absolutely. And that's why I put in earlier, I don't have my screen up here. Let me see if I can pull it back up. But I had put in earlier, let me see, share this instead. Add the stream. There we go. Yeah, I had put this, this documentary in the on the stream as well, because what this documentary is it takes a research view of the Red Sea crossing, and basically it takes a look at all the different routes out of Egypt, and it shows you the pros and the cons of each route. Which ones are possible and which ones are not possible, that sort of thing. So anyway, if you get a chance, just check it out. Patterns of Evidence Foundation, the Red Sea Miracle 1 and 2, and it lists multiple theories or pathways out of Egypt, and it gives you a whole lot of information on it. So I really recommend that you check it out, and it's cheap. It's not a whole lot of money to get the digital version. But then, and like I said, just doing a quick recap. But as far as this video is concerned, we took a look at the Gulf of Aqaba and just showed you a lot of the evidence that is down there. Again, do your own research, check it out. There's a lot of coral reef evidence that's out there. People may argue about whether a coral reef is actually a chariot wheel, because it is coral by now. But the counter argument to that is the metal detectors that they use to find the metal that's inside the coral reef that outlines the chariot wheels, and also the actual chariot wheels that do not have coral growing on them, which would be the ones of the pharaoh and the ones of the priests, which have that gold covering on it, and also any chariot wheels that made it to the lower depths where coral doesn't grow. And of course, they found human remains, they found horse remains, horse hoof, that sort of thing. And so in addition to that, after that, when you look over in Saudi Arabia, there's some findings of the 12 whales that Israel stopped at, and that they're actually there today. And then of course there's the discovery at Mount Sinai, and we ran through those discoveries that list before of the golden calf altar, the altar at the base of the mountain, the 12 pillars, the mass grave site, and the blackened mountain, and of course you saw a couple of different video clips where they actually chiseled out the rock so that you could see yourself that the rock is actually burned and not volcanic rock, because that was also another argument that was thrown out there. It's like, hey, it's black because that's volcanic. And then people went up there. It's like, okay, well, let me go up there and chisel something off for you so you can see it for yourself. So that argument is pretty much dead. So, and of course, the split rock of Horeb, as well as the altar at the base of that as well. All right, family. So I know I'm probably forgetting something, but it's late. I know people are probably wanting to go to catch up on some rest after being up for Shabbat. So family, that is it. So thank you for those that joined in, that added to the conversation. And again, this is just something to add to the list of considerations for Mount Sinai. Again, for those of us that are Israel, this is a personal thing, because this is actually where our forefathers entered into the bond of the covenant. Where our forefathers said that what you say we will do, and the blood was sprinkled upon us. So this is a special place. Wherever it is, this is a special place for us. And, whatever place that you deem to be that place, you definitely need to have some evidence to back it up. So that's it, family. So shalom, shalom, shalom. Peace and blessings to your family. Get some rest, and Most High willing, we'll catch up next week. All right. Shalom, fam.